our life.
Good morning. I think we're somewhere in the middle of chapter 10. Is that what you think? While I do the preliminary and beginning prayers, Monlam, somebody type in where they think we are. That will help. Shuku kunduzong po gompo yin dorji sempa garab dorji dang shere singi bardu shinabdi dedong labsam tata tusum chi Dzogchen jupe lama la sol wa de ergin pema junila sol wa de Dorji chang chitilo narodang marpa milagompo tatapa na pupadang palden drupa tsok kagyu lama namla sulwa de ochen lama namla sulwa de Dzogchen lama namla solwa de kaginwate lama namla solwa de shakya lama namla solwa de Nyandu Dayandran Lama Namla Solwa Deb Palkwandu Zhongdang Yerme Pagon Garab Dorjijin Tratpa Jetidang Nisume Pai Palamanam Chetente Mind. Very little word for a very big not thing. Almost a catch-all for the whereabouts of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, which obviously arise in mind and disperse in mind, and also, obviously, if you examine them carefully, have neither substance nor duration. Did you find anyone answer my question?
Best guess is end of chapter 10, beginning of 11.
And you have to realize just how big, how vast beyond your ability to conceptualize. We only actually count up to 3. 1, 2, 3, many. The rest is learned, is intellectual, but is not intuitive. Really, it's bigger than 3. It is said in the scriptures that the 3 dimensions of microcosmic world systems of suffering beings, samsaric beings, exist in a single speck of pollen on a pistil of the lotus that Saint Mountain Lake, Muni Hamavastara, holds in his hand in the macrocosm. Smaller and bigger are a direction you can go in. Just another dimension. The scriptures also assert that when a yogin is adept on the path of immediate crossing and has fully potentialized his vision of reality as total presence, the perception is of boundless Buddha fields and also boundless fields of residence of sentient beings of the 6 types in each and every pore of the body. Into each of the 6 realms, one projects emanations to transform the different beings, and the ultimate purpose of all those beings is served as in a dream. To experience this directly as an experience, which you will not be able to remember all of because it won't fit into a Homo sapien nervous system, not without considerable changes that you have not made yet. But to experience this, join me in the dream time. I'll show you. And take a trip up into macro and micro. Can see the body as a vast ecology of bits. And no one there. And there is no thing such as mind, you will notice. Not thing. Not solid. The difference between here and dream time, maybe not so much. You're still in both limited by what you think you can do. And if in a dream you think you can fly, fly you do. Here, occasionally people have taken drugs to find that they think they can fly and done themselves a serious mischief by stepping out the window. Because, you see, they think they're alone. They think that the reality is spun by themselves alone, as if they were an entity. And if you look carefully, you will notice that we're all in this together. You must understand that the nature of mind from the beginning is like that of space, not a thing, but an absence of thing. Not even an absence of thing, for it contains the thing. Space, Naunka. Empty space. Yes, there's air molecules and atmosphere. But in between them, space. And all things occupy space. That is the nature of thingness. If it's a thing, it's going to occupy some amount of space, have form, matter, thoughts, feelings, perceptions. Do not occupy space. When you do the inner mind Rushen as a practice to facilitate your being able to perceive and receive the pointing out, you will find in seeking your mind that there is no thing to be found. And it's often for people, after a great deal of seeking, before they can actually come to the perception of no thing. Mind you, the perception of no thing is not no thing. It is a perception. But it's some place to start. You can't stabilize a perception. Perceptions are moving. They come and go, they change. Look over there, perceive one set of things. Look over here, perceive another set of things. Perceptions are simply sensations in your 6 sense organs, combined with automatic descriptions of what those sensations mean. They now have the ability to give hearing to many deaf people. However, not all choose to have it done because the amount of effort to retrain and relearn how to interpret sound once you have the sensation of sound as language is years worth of work. You don't automatically understand sound when you first perceive it. You learn that. The same with sight. You learn to interpret this set of colors and shape as a small cream pitcher. Without that learning, you don't interpret that. When the Tibetans were fresh out of Tibet, which was a vastly different culture, many things occurred that they were unable to interpret. They couldn't see photographs. You could show a person a photograph of their brother, and they could not parse the blotches of color and shape in that flatness as an image of a human being. So what we had to do in those days, so that we could see a photo if we had one, is to roll up a piece of paper, shut one eye, and look at the photo through it. Look at the world through it. It makes everything flat and singular, and then look at the photo through it. Not seeing the surrounding at all, just the photo, as if you're looking through a tube at a reality, and that way some people were able to perceive photos. Many other things occurred. One time I had a friend from the cave up the way come to me. There had been a Westerner making retreat, Frenchman, in a cave near to her cave, and she came running down to my cave one morning going, Lena, the Westerner has gone mad, and I'm terrified. I said, oh, well, Westerners do go mad in retreat. Interesting. What's he doing that leads you to believe he's gone mad? He's waving his arms around in the air and jumping about and grunting like a pig. So here I'm thinking, what is completely normal for a French person? That would be the interpretation on perceiving it that a Tibetan would have. Can you think of anything? I couldn't think of anything. So I said, I gotta see this. So I followed her back up. She's sort of hiding behind me because, he's a big guy and she thinks he's gone mad. And there I see in front of his cave a young Frenchman doing calisthenics and counting in French. 1, 2, 3. And to a Tibetan, he was jumping around, waving his arms in the air and grunting like a pig. Exercise for the sake of health is not known in that culture because just surviving provides quite sufficient exercise. Once I actually managed to scrape myself off the ground, into which I'd fallen in laughter when I saw this. Now she thought it was contagious and I'd flipped too. And explained to her what he was doing, she suggested that instead of wasting his breath, waving his arms in the air and grunting like a pig for his health, he could go down to the spring and bring her a jerry can of water. I suggested this to him, and in fact he did, and found it altogether too much exercise. Interpretations. You walk through a world made of your own interpretations. And when you have trained your mind sufficiently to focus attention where you choose, you can change your reality somewhat by changing your interpretation. But since we're all in this together, all the other people are holding realities that they believe in too. And to go against them is difficult. Doable. I mean, look at Trump. Idiot entertainer managed to convince everybody he was a president. Almost managed to convince everybody he was still a president even after having lost the election. Came close. Convinced about 35-40% of the people of that. If he'd convinced more than 50% of the people of that, he might have been able to make it so. Scary thought, isn't it? This is why, at least in America, we do ceremonies during elections, as well as voting. Look at your mind. This is not you looking at your mind. This is mind looking, where your mind directly perceives itself. Yes, it's a perception. No, it won't stabilize, but it's a beginning. Start there. You gotta start somewhere. Sometimes, before you can even have such a perception, you have to start with a feeling. So you, instead of intellectualizing, which you've been doing all your life to overage all you overeducated, literate folks, instead of that, and in fact, in order to control your mind, we have to change a certain wiring that we created when we became literate. We have to shift that. That's why sometimes it's easier to teach a cowherd to see mind with mind than a Westerner who has been through, the whole gamut of the many years of literate education. It doesn't mean become illiterate or that is better, just different. So you have to set down your intellect as a tool and pick up your feelings as a tool and feel around for where your thoughts are happening. Don't try to think around for where you think they're happening. Nuh-uh, won't work. Feel for it. Not what you are thinking. Doesn't matter. Think of a shoe. Think of a persimmon. Anything. Where those thoughts are occurring. And if you find a specific place, you are in error. Keep looking. Mind looking is mind looking at itself. It is an empty mirror reflecting itself. It is the key to opening up an entire universe of magical phenomena. Dzogchen, Dzogchen. Open awareness. The mind, like an artist, creates the body and all the many worlds existing in the 3 dimensions of microcosmic world systems, all drawn by mind. But mind is neither singular nor multiple. Mind. Neither one nor many. Your personality is not it. Keep looking. It is of crucial importance to cultivate absolute conviction that all things are illusory, magical displays of the mind. You will not cultivate absolute conviction by reading books about it. Books lie. You will not create absolute conviction by Googling it. Nobody believes everything they read on the internet. Good Lord. It is only by repeated personal experience that you will develop a certainty beyond conscious thought, like your certainty in the law of gravity. Yes, you intellectually understand a 32 feet per minute square. An object falls in the gravity of this planet, that it varies from planet to planet. Sure, you intellectually understand all of that. But even before you learned that in 4th grade physics, you knew that in order to walk across the room, you learned this in your first year or 2 of life. In order to walk across the room, you lift up one foot, stick it in front of the other one, and lean towards it, allowing gravity to bring it down, and shift your weight to the front foot, lifting the back foot and bringing it forward. That's how you walk. Yeah? Go on, get up and walk around for a moment. Look at how you do it. You are utterly certain and relying on gravity without thinking about it. And since we signed on here, not a single one of you has been worried about drifting off and bumping your head on the ceiling. You're sure. That's the sure I'm talking about. That kind of sure. That all things, all phenomena, both inner and outer, thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, arise in mind and dissolve in mind and have never been out of mind. This conviction, certainty, below intellect, is the key to every other possibility. So work on it by looking to see where phenomena occurs. Start with inner thoughts. Where you be thinking those thoughts? Once that is utterly clear to you that all thoughts arise in mind and dissolve in mind and have never been made of any substance other than mind, and you're sure by repeated experience, by repeated personal seeing, not because I said so or you read it somewhere, that this is so, examine feelings. Where do they occur? And when you are certain, beyond a shadow of doubt, not intellectually from having read it somewhere or heard it from someone you trust, but by your own experience, that all feelings arise in mind and dissolve in mind, and have never been made of anything other than mind, then examine your perceptions. Your retina inside your eyeballs has cones and rods. The cones react to presence and absence of light. No, it's the other way around. The cones react to wavelength of light, and the rods react to presence and absence of light. Both of these send a little puffs of chi through your tsa. And as it moves through here, those two things, presence and absence and wavelength, are correlated into an image. And as it moves down through here, the image is labeled. Can't not. I'm going to lift something. I want you to not think what it is. Don't label it. Those of you who are familiar with such objects will have not been able to not label it. Those of you who've never used or seen a candle snuffer, since it's inauspicious to blow out candles, and yet I live in a wood house. Let me pick something you all are much more familiar with. See? Moves really fast. Actually, we say little puffs of electricity or little puffs of chi moving through the tsa. But you can also say neuronal cells making a pathway that goes here and exchanging neurotransmitters via the electron cycle, if you want to talk about molecular biology. Not quite.
Okay.
Conjo kindly offering me more coffee so that I stay awake this morning. My two cats spent the night fighting with something in the yard. And they usually don't bother the possums and the raccoons, just other cats. So perceptions. A stimulation of the sense organ. In your ears, there is a tympanic membrane, also known as an eardrum. It's a very thin membrane that vibrates when puffs of air hit it. Those vibrations are picked up by a little hammer and transmitted through a bunch of little hairs into some tsa or some neurons, depending on which map you're looking at, which particular worldview you're subscribing to today. And those are translated back. Tsa comes up here. Here is where language is interpreted. If these areas of the tsa are broken, if the tsa that go through here are broken, then you will hear sounds but not be able to interpret them as a language, as if you were hearing English as a foreign language. From there, that transmission goes down through here, where goes down through the channel behind the throat. In that area, you begin to talk to yourself about what is heard. They go down to here, where you begin to feel feelings about what you told yourself was heard. interpretation. Perception. So is true for sight and sound. It is also going to be true for scent and texture and rel. Emotions are considered on one level a perception that you perceive with your yi, which is here. Because all of the sense organs connect to a very big chakra in this place, which is approximately behind the xiphoid process, about where you would feel the apical pulse. It's called the heart chakra. It does a great deal of correlation in the body of the input coming in all of the channels, correlation of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. It's not where they're happening. It is a muscle that correlates them together. Or, if you wish to perceive it, a sense organ that works with the correlation, bringing forth feelings. If you wish to perceive it in Western sense rather than Asian, you would perceive it as a large mass of neural tissue, the mesenteric neuronal tissue surrounding the gut, which is extremely sensitive to neurotransmitters. In Tibet, we'd just call it the yi and consider it a sixth sense organ. It is sensitive, as you will notice eventually, not only to your neurotransmitters, but to those being released around you. So when there's somebody behind you staring at the back of your head, that's how you know you feel it with your yi. You've all had that experience. Start with thoughts, follow them home. Then feelings, and finally perceptions. You can't do perceptions first, and it won't work well if you don't have thoughts down completely first. Because if you don't, you'll find yourself thinking about it. And that's a distraction. Even feeling about it is a distraction. Even perceiving about it is a distraction. There is something beyond that, where the awareness is aware of itself in every moment. And that was chapter 10. Emaho, listen further, noble beloved sons and daughters of my heart. The Buddha taught that the creator of all these appearances mentioned above, mind in itself, has no knowledge, essence, and has no knowable essence, and neither color nor shape, nor any other characteristic. So if you're finding a thing that's big or small, blue or red, here or there, now or then, you've missed the point. Keep looking. From the beginning, empty and intangible like the sky, the nature of mind is unquestionably empty and baseless. And the sky is not a blue dome up there. The sky is the space around us. It was a trick question on a third grade earth science exam. Where does the sky begin? At the earth. Where does it end? It does not. I used to love my science teachers in first and second and third grade. They were the only ones that made any sense. The history teachers were obviously talking through their hat. But the science teachers seemed to know what they were saying. That was a digression. I do those. However, although we may use the sky as a metaphor, indicating the nature of mind, it is only pointing at mind's emptiness. The sky is non-cognitive, an empty blank nothingness. The sky, therefore, does not illustrate the nature of mind. That's under debate. In Mahamudra, the great debate is whether the sky is the mind or the sky is like the mind. Debaters have fun with that one. This text is going, the sky is like the mind, but it is not the mind. Well, that's under debate. You better check for yourself. Don't go believing a text just because it's in the text. It's been through at least 2 levels of translation. First of all, yes, it was written, I think this one was actually written in Tibetan. So 1 layer of translation, 2 if you're listening to this in Spanish. Hey, salt it. We are not fundamentalists here. Or at least I'm not. Absolutely. Used to drive me nuts. Or maybe he just pretended to be. To get my goat. He did a lot of stuff like that. Who knows? One can never really know what one's teacher is thinking. It's all guesses. There is no pneumo. Oh my, somebody used big words. There is no inner and outer manifestation whatsoever that is not mind. The mind is like an artist, it creates. Body is created by mind and creates mind. It doesn't go just one way. Yes, you dream the body you wear, but you are the dream, and the body you wear creates the you who dreams. It's called interconnectivity, and it's everywhere. You think you're an entity. It's relatively easy to recognize that you're not an entity, you're an ecology. Just learn a bit about the biome and how the different bacteria living in your gut and overgrowths of this or overgrowths of that affect your feelings and thoughts, to realize that your mind ain't yours. It's ours. You're a plurality, not a singularity. And within that, you are changed by your experiences. Yes, that's how you mature, grow up, learn. You're not the same person you were at 12. So being changed by your experiences, which you are making up. Do you see the mirror reflecting itself? You are created by your experiences, and you create your experiences at the same time. There's nobody in there. There's nobody out there. just pure interaction. And when that pure interaction is perceived exactly as it is the clear light of vitality, of aliveness of the universe, which is also known as Bodhisattva, Buddha consciousness. Love is a pale reflection of the totality of this innate vitality, symbolized by clear light, the light by which the seer sees. Are we beginning to make any sense to you here? Go find where your thoughts be happening. That's the beginning. Step 1, very clear. Step 2, become very familiar with that by repeating it again and again until you're sure. And then we'll talk more about what comes next. Mind. The nature of mind is empty. It is not a thing. Do you all have any questions here? We finished Song 11 and are moving on to 12.
Song 11 is short?
It is.
Wow. Okay.
Some of them are.
Okay, so one question we have is the text mentions emanations. Versions of myself have been splitting and going to different directions or realms for teaching. Is this that? Is this what emanations are?
Yes. That was too easy. Next question.
Well, a related question is how to meet up with you in the dream time for teachings.
Call my name out. Once you're lucid in the dream time, call my name out loud 3 times. And start walking. You'll come to wherever I am. Or there is a place. It's not a real place. It is beside the ocean. It has many pillars and arches. It is made of a reddish-brown stone. It is a group construct of many people. If you can find that place, I am often there, as are others. There is a more traditional to earth place, which is called By the River. Find a running water in your dream. Call 3 times the one you want to turn up and then wait. That will often work. The places of the dream time are not real places. However, there are some agreed upon constructs which are designed to help beginners find their way there. I've offered you a few of the more friendly ones. There are some unfriendly constructs designed by people who like Dungeons and Dragons type adventures better than just learning. So you can find that too. These are basic. The first one, the one by the ocean, by the sea, is symbolic for many species. So you won't meet just Homo sapiens there. The by the river is predominantly a, Western Homo sapien culture Tibetans do not have one of those. They have a different way of doing that, involving simply visualizing the teacher, and then you just do prostrations until they get there in the dream. Or calling the teacher's name again and again while walking forward as the scenery changes. Those are Tibetan. So take your pick. First, you need to develop lucidity. The teachings on the whole process of that I've been able to record for you, so at your own rate you can work through the process. They go in order, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 4 is done. I requested Geshe Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche to do number 4 because there is some Bon chakra work that he is ever so much better at than me that was not part of my training, but is very effective. So even just through 3 will do it, but 4 will do it even more so. I'll see you out there. I do not make it out there every night. Last night, too many cat fights. I barely slept, and what sleep I did was probably just a bit of theta, which you need for health. Times a week, and even if we are out there on the same day, since time is different there, you can find me on the day I'm there. From a different day, yeah. Dream time does not have the same temporal and physical strictures of this side. Think of it as another dimension. Other questions?
Yes. As a Mahamudra practitioner, to what extent is the flight of the Garuda applicable to my practice?
Depends on where you are in Mahamudra. If you are in Laktong, it's perfectly applicable. If you are before Laktong, well, it gives you a bit of a map, but that's not where your practice is right now. Shine goes through Shine with an object to Shine without an object to separating the moving from the stillness to the yoga of moving stillness where you recognize that they are inseparable after you've learned the difference. Do that in order. And it's after Trultra Naljor, yoga of dancing stillness in Mahamudra, that you can enter into Laktong. That's the gate to Laktong. Once you're in Laktong, this will make perfect sense. So it really depends on what stage you're at in your Mahamudra practice. Are you still working with the pebble? Are you working without the pebble? Have you managed to clearly perceive the difference between what is stillness and what is moving? Have you managed to clearly perceive the not difference between what is stillness and what is moving? Having done so, Laktong arises directly. Laktong, direct seeing, which is Trekchö. Same thing. And Laktong and Trekchö together mature through one taste. Next question.
When you read the text and say the word mind, which Tibetan words are you referring to when you say
Sem.
mind?
Next. That was easy.
Okay. A follow-up question on emanations.
Uh-huh.
And the question is, how does one practice or work with them? I guess once you've seen them or identified them.
You use them to create more gewa and then offer the gewa back out to the universe. That was an easy answer.
Okay. There was another question. Well, once you got onto the story of perceptions and the story of the Frenchman, you also talked about. You said that we could change our ways or patterns of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we do to change patterns? How do we do that?
Meditate. First, you have to get loose from the patterns you are embroiled in that you think are real. The way to do that is by meditating. Then you might choose a different one, such as the pattern of Bodhisattva, or the pattern of open awareness. You can, through certain tantras, also make these adjustments. We're in a Dzogchen text, so I wasn't describing the tantric methods. But if you have a pattern that repeatedly troubles you, such as you hold a pattern belief system that you are very bad at mathematics, and this bothers you. Some people are quite okay with being bad at mathematics or good at mathematics. Or you hold a pattern that you cannot repair your own car. You do not understand internal combustion engines. Well, now it's all computerized and you don't have the computer to repair it, but you should be able to understand what's in there. If you hold the pattern that you can't, you can actually wash that out with Vajrasattva, with a process of recapitulation or re-awaring, re-bringing to conscious awareness where you got that pattern, who first told you that, oh, girls don't do auto mechanics, or you're not a mechanical type of guy. Or you chose that pattern early in life because everyone expected you as an Afro-American man to grow up and work with your hands, and you weren't having none of it. So you taught your hands to be incompetent. James. Right?
Right.
Last time he cooked in my kitchen, he actually managed to get green stuff stuck to the ceiling, and I have no idea how he did that. Refresh me with the question. I want to make sure I'm not going off track.
You're talking about ways to change our ways or patterns of perception. What can we do to...
Vajrasattva. Confession. Wash it out. Tantra. On a more global scale, let's say you have a pattern of timidity, which is too damn big to try to trace down where you got it. You are timid, and your timidity is beginning to bother you in your 40s. Or your 20s. So shy and so timid that you can't assert yourself and people get to abuse you all the time. And that's a pattern that you can see, and you would really like to change it. So what do? Tantra, visualize yourself as a fierce archetype. Day and night maintain that visualization with all phenomena surrounding you as the mandala of the archetype, and you as the archetype. One of the Taras is great for that, among the 21. Pick one, learn more about her. In all of that, by doing that practice, you will change the big pattern that's too big for you to just trace the lines down for the specifics, where You got the impression that you couldn't cook, or you couldn't fix cars, or you couldn't do this, or you couldn't do that. Do you see? Next question.
A follow-up is, can it help to loosen the patterns by traveling to other places or cultures?
Oh, yes. Very much so. In fact, the instructions for any beginning practitioner, the first instruction is leave your home and family. This is geared towards the ones who are about 19 or 20, maybe 25. Once you have kids, don't do that. Then it's a different path. But if you don't have them yet, leave. COVID will end. There'll be a gap before the next one. Take advantage of that gap. Leave home. Leave the known and go to the unknown, where no one looking at you will hold your pattern. Right now, your whole family has an idea who you are. They are holding that. So that even if you get loose of it, they're going to stick it right back on because they believe in it. Leave home. But if you have children, you can't do that until they're in college. Don't even try. It creates more digpa than it resolves. Next question.
One moment, I had it in front of me. When following the thought home, sometimes I, quote, lose my mind, end of quote, and it's scary. Any ways to remove this obstacle?
Yes. You're missing that, losing that sensation, that scary, that void, has to do with insufficient Sambhogakaya awareness. Go do for, can I have some more coffee, sweetie?
Of course.
Go do the Chenrezig sadhana for weeks or months and try again. That should get you past the scary, because the Chenrezig sadhana points directly at the Sambhogakaya, thousand-arm Chenrezig. Jan's got an ongoing group. The actual teaching is up on the website for anyone who wants it. It is a direct introduction. The practice itself is a direct introduction to the Sambhogakaya. The innate awareness of open awareness. When we say the phrase open awareness in all its creativity, the word open refers to Dharmakaya nature of mind. The word awareness refers to Sambhogakaya nature of mind. The word creativity refers to Nirmanakaya nature of mind. Understand, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya are not really nouns. They're more adjectives that describe mind, aspects of mind. It's not different minds. It's different. It's ways of emphasizing different qualities of the innate and naturally creative open awareness. Not three different things. One thing in particular, as well as all things in particular. Because of the nature of our language, in the Romance Latin derivative languages such as English, Spanish, and French. Portuguese too, probably. This is different in Mandarin. There is a great deal of either-orness. Either there are many of those, or there is one of those. However, those are cultural belief systems. That many precludes one and one precludes many. Part of the patterns that you will have to get over. Practice. Next question.
Can you do the Chinrezig visualization while doing Trekchö?
No. They are different practices. You do the Chinrezig visualization while doing the dishes, taking a walk, etc. There is no visualization in Trekchö. They are different. One is Tantra, path of accumulation stage. And one is Dzogchen, path of actualization or actualization stage. Next question.
I haven't been able to glimpse Tawa as easily as before a surgery I had 1 week ago. Can you recommend anything to help?
Yes, eat a nutritious diet of generally good foods with all the micronutrients to help with your healing. Drink enough liquids, preferably water, and get enough rest and sleep. Your body is healing and your energy is there. When your body has managed to complete its healing, you will find the same ease that you had before. Sometimes when the body has been traumatized by a serious accident or a surgery or something else, all the subliminal micro-attentions are towards healing that. And you need to respect that. You need to respect the body and further the healing. Even if you are vegetarian, it is recommended that you eat some meat broth after surgery. This is for building back what is needed and what is lost in surgery. The channels themselves also need to regrow if they've been cut through. They do. Takes a little time. So the idea while the channels are healing is don't stress them. They heal better when relaxed. So pretty simple. Do all those good things that your doc told you to do. Next question.
If perceptions are a result of visual receptors that detect light or presence / absence, is there something out there for the mind to detect? Is there an external reality?
Ah, the old debate. The answer is mu in Japanese. Yes, but it's not what you think it is, and you will never, short of enlightenment, be able to perceive it. Since it is not perceivable by anyone, who cares if it exists or not? Whether there is one reality or two realities is a marvelous debate that goes on in the Gelugpa systems. Actually, between Gelugpa and Nyingma too, where the Gelugpas say there are two realities, There is a real relative reality as well as a false relative reality, as well as a real reality that isn't relative. So the existence of a real relative reality is argued for in the Gelugpa system of Madhyamika. However, in the Nyingma system, that is slightly laughed at. There is form, but form arises in mind. Nonetheless, form also creates mind. So all ises and isn'ts aren't. Quote from Saraha. Mu is your answer. In beginning Dzogchen, before you get up into the Togel and levels of working with perception directly, it is taught that all phenomena arises in mind. That is an oversimplification. But it is a useful oversimplification for most of you for now. It's not untrue, it's just a little bit overly simple. It assumes there is a mind other than everything arising, for everything to arise in it, whereas actually everything arises as it. And the mountain is dreaming you. And it's as real as you are. Next question.
My vision seems to white out progressively, especially when deeply viewing the mind. Is this a nyam?
Yeah, it does that. This is caused by the fact that when you really relax into Trekchö, very often the irises of your eyes will dilate, which causes you to experience the light as becoming brighter and whiter and getting this whiteout sensation. It is unimportant. Do remember to blink from time to time so your eyeballs don't dry out. I found the missing page. Yes, there is more to this chapter. It's due to the fact that I'm not seeing well without my glasses on today. I'm actually not seeing that well with them on. Now, what on earth was that in Tibetan? The spontaneous efflorescence of the empty radiance of mind's nature manifests the infinite diversity of all and everything. God, Keith, you like big words. Spontaneously now, spontaneously arising glow, clear light nature, vitality of the empty radiance of mind is what manifests as the infinite diversity of all and everything. The light is a symbol of vitality. The vitality is a symbol of the ability to be alive and think, the lucidity. It is that very lucidity that manifests as the creativity, which creates all and everything. That lucidity is the natural nature of the vastness. If that were not the case, there would only be a big black old void. No life, no awareness, no sentient beings, no Buddhas. no matter, no form, no movement. Big dead old dark void. Without that clear light nature. And it is obviously there because you can think, feel, and perceive. Feel it. Feel yourself thinking, feeling, and perceiving. So you know that there is lucidity. Clear light is simply the symbol of that lucidity. The spaciousness all around you, the sky itself, is of the nature of that lucidity, and thereby able to think, feel, and perceive. Being able to do it do that. And that gives birth to the form, the creativity of the universe. Tsalung tiglila japsu chiwo. The energy channels are infinite and open. The innate vitality is the chi that runs through them to every when, everywhere. And the tigli is the very innate creativity of that lucidity, arising as all and everything manifest of the nature of bodhisattva, which is the pattern of that vitality. Whatever arises seems like the reflection in a mirror, but there is no duality of viewer and vision, mirror and reflected object. They are not separate. One in the space of emptiness. Such is my introduction to initiating recognition of emptiness as appearance. Look out there at all that you see. The seer is what it sees. That very visual field is creating you, the perceiver of the visual field, because in this moment that's what you are. You are perceiving that visual field. And having thoughts about it and feelings about it. It made you up as much as you're making it up. Moo. From the beginning, appearances and emptiness are indivisible. Because the mind is empty, appearances are unimpeded. Go right through, don't stick. And ungraspable phenomena arise in the dimension of emptiness as variegated radiance. Appearances, on the other hand, do not obstruct or fill emptiness. Although they manifest, their nature is originally empty. The symbol of this is the space between the atoms. Any object of form and solidity apparent is actually mostly empty space. Space between the molecules. And within the molecules, space between the atoms sharing electrons making up the molecule. And within the atoms, space between the neutrons and the protons and the electrons. And within the neutrons, space between the quarks and the gluons. And all those other itty bits of nothing spinning. Space. Full of space. as well as good fresh hot coffee. Thank you, Nyando. For the yogin who realizes the indivisibility of phenomena and emptiness, like a rainbow in the sky or a reflection of the moon in water, every experience of samsara and nirvana is the play of a magical illusion. You don't think it is like that on purpose. Realize that it really is that. Watching the play of indivisible appearance and emptiness, the yoga whose intellect and mental processes are still is content. So by that it means when you recognize this, you no longer have to figure out what the fuck it's doing, what the fuck it's going to do next, or how you should relate to it. It's just a bunch of holograms in a play, in a story. Much easier to be equanimous once you have noticed the reality of that. Not impose that idea on your own belief systems, but actually notice that it is so. There is an exercise done in dream yoga where you go about all day remembering to repeatedly think that you are dreaming. There is an exercise in Trekchö called short moments. The first one in dream yoga, it's called acknowledging the dream. You go about all the time in awareness that this itself is a dream. Helps you attain lucidity in the dream time. In Trekchö, there is an exercise called short moments or brief glimpses or glancing that I often describe as repeatedly check and see if your mind is still there. This exercise is for the purpose of stability of Trekchö, to stabilize Trekchö, which is imperative before you begin Togel, working with phenomena directly. So, in this practice, you continuously, as you do other things throughout the day, walking, talking, getting up or sitting down, eating your food, taking a dump, whatever you're doing while you're doing it. And I think I just quoted Jangchuk Dorji, one of my teachers teaches on that. Whatever you're doing while you're doing it, you repeatedly, for a brief moment, relax into open awareness and notice Dharmakaya nature of mind, also known as Tawa, which is actually more complete word because it includes Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya nature of mind. And it doesn't separate out just focus on the emptiness, which is what one does in the beginning, just focus on the stillness. So repeatedly during the day, it is not a saying to yourself, repeating the thought. It is not a re-feeling or even a re-perceiving. It is a noticing. Just as you could do an exercise, in fact, this is one which is done at some point as one of the Rushens, where you walk about looking at objects and noticing the space around them. Or frequently during the day, you bring your attention to notice the sky. and its color. Whether it's got clouds, no clouds, whether it's bright, dark. All of these are learning and part of exercises to quickly shift your attention as you like to, developing that skill. In this exercise in the practice of stabilizing tawa, or stabilizing Trekchö, the action, the practice, is to repeatedly check on it. Repeatedly open your attention into the vastness of natural mind without grasping it, defining it, naming it, or trying to hold the feel of it. Check, release. Check, release. What this does is it leads to a certain certainty that it doesn't come and go and is inherently stable, because every time you check on it, it's still there. It hasn't moved, and it isn't different. So you get sure by your own experience that it's always there and isn't different. And thereby you can rely on it. Are your minds still in this moment, my beloved children? Look to see if the empty appearances of your mind can actually be divided. Appearance and emptiness are indivisible. Trekchö Naljor. Appearance is moving. They're always changing. Emptiness is stillness, forever unchanging, unmoving, no thing to move. No place to go. Are they different? Look for yourself in all the moving, what actual thing moves. If you're really into Western science and Western belief systems, go read a book on quantum physics and get back to me. It will tell you the exact same thing it's telling you here. No thing actually moves. There ain't nothing in there except space and stillness. And yet the appearance of movement arises in the vitality, the lucidity of life. Go look right now. Mind looking. Is your mind moving, or is it still? Or is it neither moving nor still? Or is it both moving and still? Look for yourself. Don't take my word on any of this. Of the dream moves always. This is the beauty of the dance in its four-dimensional construct. The stillness of the spaciousness, always and forever present in the moving. For how could it move if there was no still space to move in? And yet, no thingness. Look at your mind with your mind. try to think about this. Thoughts won't go there. They're too small. Even feelings don't feel this. Too small, too wiggly. Beyond the duality of perception and perceiver. Perception perceives itself in infinite openness, dancing the dance of stillness. Always was and will be this. Not coming and going, not gained and lost. There is no attainment or lack of attainment. This is the nature of all beings and always has been. You don't create this or attain this or develop this or get good enough for this. You simply notice it. It follows then that naturally indivisible appearance and emptiness, the inherent radiance of self-existent total presence, clear, alert, awake, aware, constitutes the three modes of Buddha being, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, that are spontaneously originated in their dynamic. Oh, he's got some big words. The infinite openness is itself aware and awake and lucid. And as such, lucid means can think, can feel, can perceive. So of course, since it can, there be. So the feelings, thoughts, and perceptions arise and vanish in no thing as nowhere, as the innate nature of the luminous lucidity of the spaciousness of open awareness in its singular multiplicity. Yeah, you. Y'all. Therefore, children of my heart, without regard for sessions and intervals of formal practice, in constant meditation, recognize this day and night. Not sustain a moving thing, such as the idea of this, the feeling of this, or even the perception of this, but rather re-notice again and again until certainty is inevitable. Such is my introduction, initiating recognition of natural, spontaneous, Gnostic liberation. They're all good words, but sometimes I think he swallowed a dictionary. And I'm just an old street kid raised on the streets of Hell Kitchen, New York, and then a cave yogi. So I don't know all them highfalutin words. But if you do, you will very much enjoy this text. And this is the best translation I've found. Are there questions? We now really have completed Song 11, and we'll be starting Song 12 next week.
What do they mean when they talk about the youthful vase body?
I will have to tell you a story to illustrate that. In the beginning, which was not long, long ago or far, far away, but is actually the beginning of every existent moment throughout time and space. But for ease of speaking, we will simply say in the beginning. When the clear light nature of infinite openness struck the crystal of awake, aware lucidity, the light fragments, striking the prism, into the multicolored rainbow. At this time, Kuntu Zangmo, primordial Buddha, recognizing himself as the clear light nature of the open awareness in all its lucidity and creativity, recognize the rainbow lights of this phenomenal process as one and the same with himself, and so has never known confusion and remains enlightened throughout each and every moment. Sentient beings, however, like a baby seeing the reflection of Mama's diamond wedding ring on the wall, tries to reach out and catch the little rainbows. I remember doing that while nursing on a sunny day. Trying to, with my very poor coordination of like a 6-month-old, trying to catch those rainbows on the wall and pick them up and stick them in my mouth. Or like a kitten with a laser pointer. Didn't work on my cats, they soon learned to pounce my hand, but like a dumb kitten with a laser pointer. The sentient beings were confused by these rainbow-colored lights, which simply arose from their own clear light nature intersecting with their own lucidity, spinning the illusions, but seeing those lights as appearing to be outside of themselves, reached out to grasp the rainbow, and so by performing action created karma, which created more sensations, which created more karma until it proliferated into all this crap. What we call that is the breaking of the youthful vase body, that first action, reaching for the rainbow, beginning the chain of karma, that first action of grasping or rejecting based on the misperception of duality creates the time-space continuum. And that creation breaks the youthful vase body, which is simply a very pretty symbolic way of speaking of outside of time, outside of space, where Kuntu Zangmo has never known confusion. The moment there is movement, there is duality. The moment there is duality of self and other perception, there is grasping and rejecting, which creates the movement, which creates the karma, which proliferates infinitely. So the youthful base body simply refers to beyond time and space and the creation of the time-space continuum, where there's point A and point B, and something over a duration moves from point A to point B, which means there's time, duration, and space, point A and B. That's called the breaking of the youthful face body. So when you see white Tara with a vase, and that is the vase of immortality, it is the youthful vase body, it is a symbol of this. Amitayas also holds the vase, the youthful vase body beyond time and space. You can see how this became associated with long life, symbolically. But that's not what it's about. This moment is forever. Life is infinite. Next question.
Once thoughts, feelings, and perceptions do not benefit or harm much, does that mean that Trekchö is, quote, accomplished, end of quote? And if so, what should the main practice be?
It is not enough that they simply do not benefit much or harm much, one's thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. But this awareness needs to be of course rather than a push. The awareness of natural mind needs to be an of course. Otherwise, Trekchö is not real Trekchö. It's preliminary Trekchö. It's a made thing. You must proceed past meditation to non-meditation, into not doing. There's a Rushen to teach you that, how to not do. Hopefully next year in Poland. It's one I won't teach online. It's too buggy. People get into trouble with it. I don't feel comfortable teaching it outside of certain very specific environments. And you have to set up the mandala in certain ways and do certain things. One Lama forgot a piece and died in Europe some years back. And we all heard about it. It's like, oops, he forgot to make the spirit offerings. It's a dicey retreat. We're planning it for Poland next year, and then we'll rotate around. We did it first in South America, and then in Canada, and then it gets done in Europe, and then we're back to perhaps South America if facilities open up for it. Right now we don't have a good place in South America. We do have in North America, up in Canada, a place that works quite well for it. And we've heard that this place in Europe works quite well for it in Poland. The place we used in South America last time, I believe, has been sold. So I don't know quite how that would happen again. But it's an excellent practice. And it gets you from the doing of a done meditation to the not doing of an of course. And that's a hard step for people to make because you can't do it. How are you going to do not doing? Everything you do is doing. Your practice is doing. To make that transference without stopping doing. Yes, sticky wicket. That's why we have a retreat for the purpose. And no, I can't tell you what we do in the retreat because it's secret. You sign up like a pig in a poke. And you're not allowed to do it within a year of a serious traumatic experience, such as a death in the family of someone close, giving birth. It doesn't have to be a bad trauma. Retiring, not within a year if you've worked all your life. It's not that it'll hurt you if you do that, it's just that it won't work. And why waste your time on 11 to 30 days, 11 or 21 days of practice that isn't gonna work? Next question.
I feel tawa as a sensation or feeling of warmth with a strange experience of focusing. It is still, and I also notice the moving from within it. How do I know if this is truly tawa?
It isn't. It has characteristics. Keep practicing. Hit it with pet. Or, you got two methods here. One is pet, from 3 words of Garuda, Insomnia text, and is common in the Nyingma line. And the other is a form of Guru Yoga in which you place your hands in this position, pressing on them considerably, and utilizing your speech chakra, which means out loud. Pray to your teacher to enter your mind stream and bless you with the true realization transcending the experience. You have to do it out loud. Doesn't have to be complex. For instance, one of my favorite is, help! I'm stuck, this nyam is stuck, I can't get past it, please. Help! Sit at length for a while and then relax. Or there are many Guru Yoga prayers you may recite. They're all over the place. If you would rather use a script. Tibetans prefer to use a script. Westerners not so much. If it has characteristics, it is this or that. If it is warm, it is not cold. You missed. You're caught in is and isn'ts. And they all aren't. Next question.
What is the difference between mind and brain? And how do they interrelate?
Brain is a solid object made up of a complexity of fat, meat, tissues, blood vessels. It can be damaged. It can be squished. It has a beginning in time and an end in time. It's an organ like a heart, a liver, a spleen, and it has certain functions. It is within the channels that run through the area of the brain that most of the sensory input is coordinated, not touch. That's coordinated more lower. But sight, sound, scent, and taste are all coordinated. The beginning of their coordination is in the head. The channels which happen in the head. which exist in the same spatial environment as the brain, an organ of meat. Mind is another matter altogether. It does not have a beginning or an end. It is not yours or not yours. It lacks totally in location. It lacks totally in matter or shape. It's not round or triangular. Completely different, mind and brain. There is an ignorant superstition common in the West that they are the same. But if you examine their functions, you will clearly see this not to be correct. Next question.
Let's see. I had it here. Does the thought of I come after the actual phenomenon? Where does the future concept of I plan or I intend to do something come from?
Karma. The moment in the beginning that the perception of I and them their rainbows causes the moment of the experience of grasping something outside of oneself, the duality, which is the separation of subject and object, arises, and that very duality is the concept of I. So it's old. Not real, but very, very old. And I'll take one more, and then I think we might be done for today, if we've got one or two good ones.
Yes, we do. One off-topic question that's come up more than once is, how are the people in Sopema doing? People would really like an update on how they're holding up under the conditions in India.
As
right now.
well as might be expected. Those who are small shopkeepers, and I'm thinking of a particular student who is really heavy-duty Dharma practitioner, old woman. Children are grown. All her time is spent in sadhana and practice, and she supports herself with a tiny little shop. Well, of course, that's been closed for a year. So part of it is just making sure all these little shopkeepers, many of whom are heavy-duty practitioners, have food, because they can't sell their shoes or jackets or whatever little thing that they normally sell to earn a living. It's really hard now. Medically, we do have oxygen. We do have COVID in town. We are in complete lockdown. Pretty much everybody is in retreat. I was talking to people yesterday, and nobody is going out, or a few people do Kora, walk around the lake just to get a walk in, with mask on, early at dawn, and with social distancing, but they're very careful. 3 hours a day allows vegetable sellers are allowed to sell vegetables. I think only food sellers and pharmacies are allowed to open at all and do business, and that's only for 3 hours of the day. So you got to get whatever you're going to do during those 3 hours. And I've got photos of town. It's utterly deserted. You see almost no people on the streets. Everything's shuttered. So it's a hard time over there. If any of you who are listening would like to adopt a person, maybe one of the practicing practitioner shopkeepers who are particularly hard-hit at the moment, or a yogi or a nun or a monk, please contact me, send me an email, but send me it separate from your practice questions. I have a team that helps me keep track of who's in need in the given moment, because I can be a little spacey about things sometimes, like losing the page that was right in front of me and thinking it didn't exist. So I have a team that helps me with that, but I don't want to necessarily share your practice questions with them, because that's personal and only I see those. So separate emails for I would like to sponsor someone and I'm stuck on XYZ. But if you can afford it, it's about $25 a month. That'll keep somebody in food, although prices are going through the roof at the moment out there. And 30 would be better. But even 20 will make a big difference. These are hard times, and we're all in it together. The other lineage holder, Rinpoche's other lineage holder, Annie Boomchung, is not really well, having trouble walking, very weak. She's back up in the caves. She is the teacher of the ritual these days, and I do not know if she will live until I can get there and see her again, and she's my best friend. Impermanence is. I have no concern about her death. She'll be fine. She's already in her 90s. She's one of the great practitioners. She holds Rinpoche's lineage among the Tibetans. Yeah, 2 lineage holders, myself and her and Sopema. I hold for the Westerners. She holds for the Tibetans. Linguistically, although she has Western students and I have Tibetan students, so it's not like completely separate. We share. Yeah, hard times. If you want to help, send me an email to that fact. There are a couple of different things you can do. We're pretty much okay on medical right now. Medical fund is nice, but you can add to it if you wish. Send me an email that you want to do that. We buy medicine. Currently, we're paying for Annie Boomchung's $65 injections for her lupus. We've got 2 oxygen tanks in town for emergencies. We've got the entire town being freely given masks and hand sanitizers, and all old people in the entire town who want it receiving vitamin D. And we also have a stock of medications used to treat COVID, although none of them perfect. The steroids traditionally used if somebody's COVID goes bad. All of that we've already got. I don't think there are needs at the moment, but of course all of that will be used and consumed and eventually have to be replaced. If you wish to contribute to medical funds, send me an email that you wish to do that. No, my PayPal button is for personal offerings to me that you may wish to make because you wanna. I am really not a good enough accountant to take all that comes in through Lotus Gompa and keep track of what goes here and what goes there. So please send me an email and I will tell you where to send monies for other purposes, to support the yogis, to have prayers done. That's a big thing you can do. You can send money to the cave community or to the groups in town. Although they do not gather in groups, they all have cell phones and they all have text each other, and they will sit down at the same time but in their own caves and do practices for people, and I often send them phones. Specifically, if I get a bunch of requests for prayer, I think they're better at it than I am. So although I will do prayers for your relatives, I will also send their names over there with a bit of funds and have prayers done there. That's how I spend my money. That's the fun thing to do with it. Everybody's got a hobby. That and cooking. You should see my spice rack. I digress. Do we have any other good questions?
You brought up not being able to sleep earlier, and somebody actually had a question about is there a practice to work with having incessant insomnia? She's been suffering from it for years.
Sit in Trekchö instead. Or lie in Trekchö. But if you've got a nice, comfortable seat that'll give you the proper position, sit up in Trekchö until such time as you feel the need and ability to sleep, and then lie down and take a nap. If you do Trekchö right, with enough relaxation, although it is not a nap, it will benefit the body almost as much as real sleep will. And you can enter dream time from Trekchö. A little bit more conscious, a little bit more aware, not as easy as doing it from sleep, but doable. It's a vision instead of a dream, but it's the same thing. You see it, touch it. It's all there for you. One more if there's a good one.
Holding my guru in my mind or repeating their name deepens my devotion. Is there anything else I should be aware of?
Yes, it is necessary if you become close to the individual who you perceive as your guru, that you recognize that it is the lineage that you are devoted to, which is always there, unchanging. The Buddha nature, not the personality, which is in a state of flux and gets grumpy at times. And keep that in mind. Otherwise, if you actually do become close to that individual and get to know them, and they grump at you, you're going to take it way too seriously. And I apologize for the last 3 people who got emails from me yesterday answering old questions. I was getting a bit tired and abrupt by then. So, if it was kind of harsh and abrupt, please salt it. At least I did get back to you. Unless there is something pressing, I think we're done for today.
There's a number of off-topic questions.
Anything pressing?
Yes, I had it in front of me for just a moment. Give me just one quick minute to find it. Can I use a yak bone mala for a fierce yidam?
Yes. Especially suitable if the bones are a little bit rough, as in have like eyes carved in them or some bit of carving. It is considered unsuitable to use a rough textured mala on a peaceful yidam. The sensation of running the rough beads like rudrakshas, which are rough, through your fingers is very specific and goes with fierce archetypes, not with peaceful archetypes. The smooth sensation goes with peaceful archetypes. So to use a smooth mala with a fierce archetype is okay, but not the reverse, to use a rough mala with a peaceful archetype. And it is better to use a mala with some texture. So have a look at, how that mala is made. Some of them have texture, some don't. Anything else that seems pertinent and necessary before we close?
I think we've addressed the more pressing questions. So I think we're good to close here.
And I will see you all next week for Q&A next weekend. I think that's on next weekend.
So any questions that you haven't gotten to
Today,
Today.
you can put them up there when we start next time, and we'll get to them then. We're all in this together. Us and our bugs. Remember that. Ge wandi nyor duda che che sala go pashu. I'll see you all next time.